I don't know if you can see this or not. I'll just...
So we actually started BeyondWater because somebody told me that 5,000 kids under 5 were dying per, and that 2 billion people do not have access to toilets. And so I basically asked him what was his long-term plan, because he's trying to sell me a bottle of water for 20 bucks. Typical British shape. He'll rip me off. And he said, no, it's for a fundraiser that I'm doing for this weekend.
John and Sarah.
Yeah, that's why I'm taking the Nick Mickey out of them. And so I said to him, what's your long-term plan? He said, well, I'm going back to England to get married and finish off my PhD. And that's some university degree, but in Kenya it's called pothole driving. See, P for pot. Yeah. And so I've got my PhD in Kenya. And so I said to him, well, you need to find somebody crazy enough, stupid enough to think that other people will be crazy enough, stupid enough to join making a difference in this world. So I said, you got to find somebody in 24 hours. And that gave me enough time to talk to Sharon and said, hey Sharon, this is what we could be doing, which really means Sharon, you should be doing this. And I get the pat on the back because it's my vision, and you have to do all the hard work. So that's what basically has started.
Okay, so when we started out, we just wanted to give one child clean drinking water. 1 billion people don't have access to water, 2 billion don't have access to any form of the toilet. So we started BeyondWater. The whole idea was just to raise money, send it to a group in America, and in those days it was money laundering, so we weren't allowed to do that. And we were living in Aussie, and but now we have a board and teams in New Zealand, Australia, America and Kenya. Been living in Kenya for 11 years, but we work in Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, South Sudan and the DRC. If you don't know where those are, go to Mr. Google, because he knows everything on it. So it's not unusual for people to walk 6 kilometres for water, and as Rotarians we're very aware of water and sanitation and health. But it's always good to see a reminder, and that's what we're in New Zealand for, is to encourage Rotarians to, and whoever we're speaking to keep up the good work, because most of us have never seen the international projects that we've funded or been contributors of. And I always say to people, if you can do that just once in your life, it'll make a huge difference. So I'm just going to briefly show you some of the projects we've done this year. So our focus is on medical clinics, schools and orphanages, although we don't really call them orphanages anymore, so it's childcare centres and remote communities. We found out that 90% of those in orphanages are not true orphans, so we try not to support that. But this is an example, I don't know if you can see this, of a hospital where it caters for 30,000 people, and it's one hospital. And it's not quite like Whanganui one, but this was started by Dr. Tonya Hawthorne, who's an American, and for the last however gazillion of years has served in all sorts of places, starting hospitals and training medics and all that. But she had no water and no electricity for 16 years. So imagine people coming through, women giving birth, accidents and emergencies, and they have to buy in water, very, very expensive. So a few years ago, a boys' school in Christchurch, Christ College, they gave us $9 grand. We put in our first lot of tanks and guttering. But this year, through the generosity of someone, I wish it happened all the time, but it's always good to tell the cool stories, hey, is that we were able to put in a deep bore well for that hospital, so they'll never ever have water issues again. So Dr. Tonya will not have to bathe in the river with the elephants and buffaloes. The women who come and give birth will actually be able to have a wash and things like that. So Pete, do you want to come and tell about what we did this year? So at this hospital, like I said, looks after 30,000 Maasai people. Maasai pastoralists in Kenya, guys. If you want more than one wife, you come to Kenya. You can have 5 wives. The most important, you can only have one husband though. I think that's enough. It rates the most important: men, cows, women, and then children. So even though women will walk up to 8 hours to come and give birth, they have to seek permission from their husbands first. They won't come at night because the elephants and buffaloes will attack them. There's a lot of human-wildlife conflict. So to be able to partner with organisations like New Health Frontiers has been really, really cool. But Pete, just share a little bit of the highs and lows of a deep bore well. Don't worry about the pre-picture, I don't think anyone can see that.
So basically we can see it from there.
Okay.
So when we dug the borehole, we did have some challenges. The first challenge was we found the water. It was in the middle of the building. And the geologist and I were cracking up laughing because we were joking about 2 minutes before, and I go, wouldn't it be funny if it's actually in the middle of the building? And he's walking around doing the survey, and he goes, you want to know something, Pete? It's in the middle of the building. I go, but there has to be another place. Surely we're not going to pull this building down for it. And it was actually, we found another place just outside the building, and we dug down there. We lost the drill head a couple of times.
On this,
yeah, on Goswani we did, and then we were able. It took an extra couple of days to dig, but we actually hit 10,000 litres of water per hour, which is really, really good. That means the pump can pump 20 hours a day. That's 200,000 litres of water. That's a lot of water, really a lot of water. So that was pretty exciting. But then we did another borehole.
Well, we're not that one yet.
Okay.
Not that one yet.
Okay.
Yeah, hold it. Usually we go by the pictures and we know where we're going. Is that we put in a solar panel and tank and tower. But this was a $45,000 project. And so we don't actually do deep bore wells too much because they're so expensive. But this, as you see, it's beautiful blue sky as opposed. Oh, it's pretty good today. We've had rain for like 5 days in a row, so and all manually done. So we subcontract to a company called Drilling for Life, and they're really, really cool. Great guys. Make sure the project gets done and done well, and that's important to us. The day that all got connected, I hear this voice yelling out, "It's working," which is really good when you spend 45 grand, right, to know that a project's going to work. I was in the birth-in unit with one of the mamas, and a little boy was born that day, and we'd already decided to call this Jason's Well. The reason being is that one in 20 women in Africa will die in childbirth. This is very close to the Tanzanian border. It's 1 in 10 women will die in childbirth. And we dedicated it to some friends of ours called Ayub and Lensa, who lost a little boy in April, 2 weeks before he was born. He just died in the womb. And we've been walking with them, and they're our closest friends, and we decided to call it Jason's Well. And they actually called the baby Jason. So the staff are going, film it, film it. I'm trying not to cry because it's an emotional moment because it's all the connection there, right? And so in April we'll actually dedicate it. We'll bring the family out from Nairobi, which is about 5 or 6 hour drive, put a little plaque on there, and that will help with the healing process. And so that's pretty good to be able to do that. But we have a problem, is that there's too much water. So we're going to share it with the school across the road of 1,000 kids who have no water at all. Everybody who comes to the hospital will get free water in their little 20-litre jerry cans. But we need to raise about another $15,000 because it is very high in iron and fluoride. And fluorosis in children under 8 breaks down their bones and their teeth. So they'll just rip all the enamel off their teeth. And the Great Rift Valley, where this is the worst place in the world for fluorosis. So we've got a Rotary Club in Hong Kong who are helping us out. We've got an Interact Club in Auckland that have fundraised, and a few other bits and pieces that we'll get that done as soon as we get back. Now the next one we did, so this is back to back, this is just this year in the first few months. Corner Baridi is about 40 minutes drive from Nairobi. Baridi means cold, so today they might say it's Baridi Sana, which means it's very cold. If we get to 25 degrees, we think we're dying there. So imagine how we've felt coming to New Zealand. And this lady here on the right, her name is Agnes. She's an incredible lady. She rescues girls from female genital mutilation or early childhood marriage. And they've got one of our girl leadership projects happening there. But she will jump in a bus, go all over the countryside rescuing these girls, puts them in school so they won't be married off. Because she goes, I was privileged. My parents thought it was important that a girl goes to school. Therefore, I see it as my calling. Doesn't get paid for it. Lives in a little hut. And the Maasai, they speak Ma. They don't usually speak English or Kiswahili, which are our national languages. And so we had these older people from Western Australia who for 15 years have been trying to get water to this community. And this year, within a matter of weeks, they'd raised $65,000 because we partnered up with them, which was really, really cool. So Pete, what were some of the challenges that were there? Because they're pretty pictures in there.
Just to go back, Agnes, when we say a bus ride, it's not like jumping on one of our buses. More people get killed in Kenya on bus overnight than anywhere else. I reckon this is so bad. I don't like her going on
we
buses.
have potholes the size of this table.
And we've got crazy drivers. And you could be driving along and the truck breaks down, there's no tail lights. So you ram up the back of it. So there's a lot of things like that. So this borehole went down 300 metres, they got down to 165 metres and the bore head shaved off, and they tried for 3 days to catch it. So they had a catcher come over so that they can ram it down, and they put the camera down because it was volcanic rock. It didn't leave a nice smooth, it was all rough, so they couldn't get it down onto it. So that was a $9,000 to $10,000 race. They just buried it, left it, and moved over about 2 more metres and started digging again. And they drilled down to 300 metres. We got about 3,000 litres of water per hour. It's pure water, it doesn't need any filtration, which was really good. At the $65,000 mark, I was going, man, this could be a really expensive project, this one. But the good thing about it now is that the county government, because we've got different tiers of government, the county government has turned around and said, we will help you build a preschool because you now got water. Kenya Wildlife Forestry have said to them, if you can get a nursery up for native trees and seedlings, we'll buy the seedlings off you. So this whole community who's living on subsistence farming have now got the potential to do a lot more. And we're talking about beehives now, we're talking about, we're talking about how do we create this little village of people to create great food for themselves. Cows, I put a trough in there for them because I believe that if you've got good clean water, animals drink clean water, they're more healthier, which means that they can go to the market, get more money for them, and they will be able to do more milk. So we're talking about the whole animal welfare and all sorts.
So they don't have to now walk 4K carrying jerry cans of water. So, what a 20 litre container, diesel container looks like. In New Zealand we go through 30 of those per person per day. In East Africa we go through 1 per person per day. This is in rural areas. Even in the city where we live, we're very careful because you never know when water's going to happen. So remote communities and medical clinics are cool, but our schools are our big passion. Only 30% of schools have any form of water, toilets, and very little have water. So this year we drove 2 days up to northern Uganda for a school of 400 kids. They have no toilets at all. In fact, I saw them open defecating just outside, and schools have been closed for 2 years in Uganda due to COVID. And the government had said, if you guys don't get toilets, we'll close you down. So we drove up there with Peter, our fundi. Fundi is a builder. And everything was done by hand. And Pete, how many kids? 400 kids?
Yeah.
What are the toilets like now? What have we got to do?
So on this one, we always do water tank and guttering. Because it cost us $8,000 instead of $5,000, I had to sacrifice something until we got more money. So I said to them, let's not worry about the gutters and the tanks. Because they had a pump, borehole pump that was being put in years ago and it's still working. So I said to them, my next main aim is to build 7 doors for the girls on the other side, because this is okay for the boys. You've got 400 students, mostly girls. I want the girls to have 7. And the side you see where we got 2 doors for the boys and 3 urinals. That will keep the boys going, and the teachers can use the other side.
Yeah. So the basic pit latrine. So you think of long drops. No good putting your nice white throne in because that's not what they're used to, and parts will break and things like that. We're about sustainability, lasting longer than us. And so we had some young New Zealanders come over. One was an engineer and he designed the toilet block style for us, which is really good. So we make sure there's steel doors, like a porcelain little pan that they can go in, and we always put water tank and gutter in so the kids have somewhere to wash their hands. And then we have a health education day. Lolly scrambles. You know what a lolly scramble is, guys? You don't know what a lolly scramble is. What has your grandfather done to you?
Nothing.
Oh, no!
Well, you get a bag of lollies and you throw them out. Everyone
This is recorded, by the way.
New Zealand's the only place they call it lolly scrambles. So, and we have boiled sweets and plastic wraps. So we do that, and tug of war and paint games and all sorts to make it all about the importance of hand washing. Just to show you how important it is. This has nothing to do with COVID. This is just life. You get 1 bacteria of cholera, you can be dead in 5 hours. So it's very important. So we teach them how to make soap, liquid soap from their own ingredients and things like that. So it's development work takes a long time. It's not just a one little visit, see you later. It can be 4 or 5 years on a project. So we will go up to northern Uganda later this year and complete the girls block. Schools are very good. We have health education days, we have mentoring days, we have people coming in teaching the young people about health, inspiration and things like that. I don't know, maybe it was 9 years ago we started the Girl Project, and that is a leadership and mentoring project specifically for high school girls. It costs $80 a year to have a girl in that project, and it's all run by my local leaders now. And these are girls who live in slums, Their house might be a 3 by 3 metre tin shack, where Granddad's going to put you if you tell them again he doesn't know what a lolly scramble is. And there's no running water, no electricity. And so we started in the Kibera slum, which is a 15-minute walk from our little apartment, where we have water, we have electricity most of the time. They have nothing. There's 1 million people living in squalor. And so we started off, it's a once a month program, where they get guest speakers in. It used to be a Rotarian woman. It would be businesswomen coming to share about their vocation, inspiring the girls. We have debates, workshops. We have service programs. It's very important for us, for the young people there to realise that no Westerner is going to rescue them. It's themselves, it's their own resources. They just had a doctor last Saturday speaking to them. We've had fashion bloggers, Zumba classes, a women's motorbike group coming along and sharing and giving it really to them about it. And from that, there now has been a motorbike driving school that some of our girls have attended. I'll show you the girls in a sec, where they've got their first aid certificate, their motorbike licence, and now they can start their own little, like an Uber Eats kind of thing. But the service program that the leaders decided was at a children's home, so they went to do all the washing by hand, because they do it all by hand, for these 60 children and leaders. And as you might not be able to see, but on here the clothesline fell down because there were too many clothes. But they had a blast. But what really inspired me was these girls living in slum conditions went to their neighbours and said, have you got some sugar? Have you got some oil? Have you got some soap? We're going to this children's home. And so they went with stuff. And that's what I love about the young people we work with. It's not just about me, it's about people in the community. We give food to the girls. It's the only meal they'll get that day. It's usually a muffin, a bottle of fizzy drinks, we don't have cans there, and a piece of fruit. It's usually a banana, because bananas are cheap all year round. Because of Rotary in New Zealand throughout COVID, the government here said, right, everyone stay at home. Well, ours was similar, but families were separated. Incomes were lost. We had 15 million people just in the tourism industry affected. And so we reached out to Rotary clubs that we'd spoken to in New Zealand. So if you give us $100, we can feed 3 families. We fed 70 families 3 times, simply because of New Zealand Rotary. So that was really, really cool. And best response we ever got from parents. So these are some of the girls that came, graduates. We have a computer lessons during school holidays, and those laptops are provided by Pat the Mac Man, who I think is still alive, in Canberra. He said, I've got a couple of laptops, and we walked away with 5 or something. He's got another 5 for us to take back, because these kids have never been on computers. So how are they going to do Word, Excel, PowerPoint? How are they going to do their ID? How are they going to know what the internet is? And we've got an office, which actually is another apartment in our building, and so our leaders train them. So we're trying to get our leaders to do stuff way more than us. One more thing we did was Mashimoni squatters. Also, by the way, we give girls sanitary products and toilet paper. This is Mashimoni Squatters Primary School. Pete, you can do this one.
So this. I did this about 3 days before I flew out to New Zealand. They've got no water. It's one of the poorest schools in Kibera slum. Their parents have to pay $5 a term, and they can't afford it. So I went in and we set up this whole new guttering system. Pulled up, the old one was stuffed anyway. So we actually, I got 5 or 6 guys working for me. And what I do is, Peter, my fundi, I always use my fundi because I'm trying to train him up to build like I do over here. I say to him, Pete, I want to show you a different way of building, a different process of building, and it's going to create more money for you because you'll be able to learn the keys. And so then I said to the head teacher, I want 5